Life begins for me today.
My life begins for me today. New words before me lie. Yesterdays have passed away. More to cause a sigh. Before me lies the bright today. All blessings in future days. And I rejoice to find my way and sing its joyful song. Today to me begins anew. My path is good, real and true. Its blessings now I see. I look no longer to the past, nor wait for future days. For with today my lot is cast, and present joys I praise.
Thank you, Jude. And let us prepare for our blessing of each other. We warm our hands, symbolizing our warming of our hearts, and send out our blessing to each other. We love you. We bless you. We behold the Christ in you. Who you are makes a difference in our lives.
And number 224, New Horizon. That's right, each horizon is new every day, but this is a new year horizon. New horizons out before our view, reaching forward, claiming all things new. We've caught the lofty visions of God's presence everywhere. We turn our backs on past mistakes and find release through prayer. New horizons in our state of mind, reaching forward to good we're sure to find. We sing with joy this melody of truth that makes us free. New horizons in unity.
Whew. And as I invite Richard Gordon up to Daily Word, let our statement of being, Unity's first principle. Please join me. The words are in the bulletin. There is only one presence, one power, and one intelligence, active as the universe and as my life. God, the good omnipotence.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. It's great to see all of your lovely, bright, and shiny faces. Good morning. Today's affirmation is fresh start and centered in God. I create a fresh new life. I begin this year with renewed enthusiasm and a fresh perspective. I feel vibrantly alive as I realize that all the love, wisdom, and energy and strength of God are mine to express in my life right now. Grateful for the lessons of life experience, I release past disappointments with a forgiving heart. I find harmony in my relationships as I look beyond differences and focus on the divine life and love that unite all people. I go about my work seeking to serve others with a humble heart. I find ways to develop and evolve my skills and nurture my talents, which then allows me to continue to grow and to learn. This year, I will thrive in all areas of life as I feel God's presence everywhere I go and in everything I do. And from Revelations chapter 21, verse 5. This year, I will thrive in all areas of life as I feel God's presence everywhere I go and in everything. Oops, I repeated that twice. Okay, must have been important to repeat that. So, back to Revelations. And this one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Richard. And I like the Christ candle symbolizing the awakening of our Christ consciousness. And as we affirm in the words of our way shower, I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world, said he. So we keep this light burning in the window, inviting all who are ready, who are willing to receive this message of their divinity, to come, to be a part of. And I want to welcome up Melanie Bars and Adele Douglas to light the Kwanzaa candles.
Good morning. Kwanzaa is an African American celebration that each year takes place from December 26th to January the 1st. It is a time when we honor our heritage and give special thanks for the harvest of good in our lives. Lighting candles is a big part of the celebration. 7 candles are lit during the 7 days of Kwanzaa, representing the 7 key principles of the holiday. The first principle of Kwanzaa is unity. Through Christ in me, I enjoy unity with the one power we call God. I am because we are. Let us all see the oneness in every person that we meet. The second principle, which is self-determination, is focused on building one's identity as a person. Who am I? Am I all that I ought to be? Through Christ in me, I am self-determination. The third principle of Kwanzaa is participating in creative work and responsibility, which means we grow together. And if there is a setback, it is our job to join with one another, hand in hand, to bring us all forward together as brothers and sisters. The fourth day of Kwanzaa celebrates the principle of cooperative economics, which gives attention to building our shops and businesses and profiting from them together, to do always as much as we can, in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. Purpose is the fifth principle of Kwanzaa. Through Christ in me, I enjoy a life of purpose. I am not just sleepwalking through this existence, only doing what's necessary. I am here for a reason. I have a purpose to share peace and love to all humankind while staying connected to spirit. The sixth principle of Kwanzaa is creativity. After creating everything else, on the sixth day, God created human beings. We are the capstone of his creation. Thus, this principle invites each of us to use our gifts, talents, and passion to create a better world. The seventh principle, which is faith, emphasizes family and community traditions as a spiritual center. It spotlights religious truths and faith in ourselves, to believe with all our hearts in our people and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Faith in God through us and around us. Faith in divine order and knowing that divine order always prevails. Thank you.
And now your insert, I release, found in your bulletin.
Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. Let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only. One more time. I release and I let go. My Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Little tag. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Thank you, Jude. In Unity churches, we don't have a lot of what we sometimes refer to as smells, bells, and yells, which is the ceremonial aspect of religion that some of us grew up with. You know, whether it's a very formal church service every Sunday, or the passing of the communion cup and basket. Not a whole lot that we do other than sing the peace song at the end of service in most of our churches, and recite the prayer for protection at the end of service in most of our churches. But at the end of the year and the beginning of the new year, we have a couple of services that most of us do. And today we're going to practice one of those, the burning bowl. It is a practice where we release something. And then usually shortly thereafter, we do a white stone ceremony where we affirm something that we are going to hold for the next year. So today is one of Unity's high holy days when we do the burning bowl. And as a minister in years past, what I have traditionally done is led the folks in my congregation through an abbreviated practice of the fourth of the 12 steps to come to something that they want to release. For those of you not familiar with 12 step, basically what this is an exercise where you kind of take a spreadsheet or a piece of graph paper or something like that, and you go down and you list all the things, people, places, and institutions that you have a resentment towards. And then in the next column, you put down exactly why you have a resentment or an anger or something unhealed, an unforgiveness toward that person, place, or thing. And then in the next column, it's why it affects you. And then usually what I do with the one after that is, this is where it starts getting personal. What's my part in it, right? And then the very final column is, and what was I afraid of? And what I found when I actually did my first fourth step, and what a lot of folks have found doing this exercise over the year, is that all those resentments they have over there on the left-hand side are created by just one or two, maybe two fears over on the right-hand side. Then I would ask folks to, do an affirmation that I am, free of my fear of blank, and I release it. And I'd have them write that on paper and we'd go out and burn it. But I wanted to do something a little bit different today. For one thing, I didn't want you guys to spend all your time writing on a worksheet because I wanted to talk to you. Because this is probably my last chance. My wife and I are moving to Seattle on the 13th of this month. So next Sunday will be my last Sunday here in the sanctuary. I will continue to join you from time to time online, and I will continue on as the president of the Board of Trustees until the annual meeting in March. Reverend Nora Lisa twisted my arm a little bit, and I agreed to continue my service, and I'm glad to be able to do it. So we're going to keep doing that, but I do know that this may be the last time I get a chance to share any stories with you or fuss at you a little bit. So I wanted to do some things a little bit differently today. So when I got to thinking about, how do I inspire you to really let go of the things that, maybe actually preventing your growth as a soul. I was thinking about those things that get in our way. And as we're preparing to move, there are some things that my wife Laura and I are having to do. And one of those is letting go of things, because we're going from about a 2,400 square foot house to about a 1,400 square foot apartment. So there's just not as much room. And one of the things that we had to let go of was the piano. Now, for me, a piano used to essentially be a torture device that I was forced to sit in front of and show how clumsy I was and how little I understood how to make my left hand and right hand do different things at the same time, right? I took piano lessons when I was a child for about 6 years and never mastered the daggone thing. I did learn how to read music. I just couldn't make these things do the music on the keyboard. My wife, however, is a good pianist. She came up with what she refers to as the Mormon Wife Starter Kit, which means that she can sing, dance, play the piano, sew, cook, bake, all those things that good Mormon girls were taught. She actually became an apostate and has been condemned to the outer darkness by the Mormon Church, but that's a different story for a different day. But she can play the piano, and this piano was actually a gift to her from her parents, who had kind of disowned her when she was 16. So she put herself through college. But a couple years after that, she was a young mom, and she was pregnant with her second daughter, who is now a junior in college. And she was moving down to Alabama, where her in-laws were. And so her mom gifted her with this piano. And that piano has been with her ever since, so about 2 decades. And she has been through some tough times, and was a single mom for a while, and has been through a couple of really tough living situations, but managed to keep the piano coming along with her every time she made a move until this time. We found our dream apartment in Seattle, and we kept thinking, oh, well, it's not going to be available when we actually finally have her proof of income, once the HR people finish everything. Well, lo and behold, it was, and we applied for it and actually got it. But it's the lowest floor of it is a second floor walk-up, and it would have been extremely difficult for us to get a piano in there, even if there was room for it, which there is. So Laura put an ad in Facebook Marketplace, and a very nice family showed up with 3 little girls, all of whom were taking piano lessons. And the oldest one could actually play pretty well, and they all fell in love with the piano. And the piano's gone. There were some tears and some woeful looks for a couple of days, but Laura was able to let it go. What that reminded me of was a story that is part of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, and some of you will recognize, those of you who are Tolkien lore fanatics like I am, will recognize what part of the book I'm talking about, but to try to translate it for you folks that have not read the book. So there's a group of people who are together on a quest. And at a certain point, they kind of get broken up, and there's big fights. And a couple of the members of the Fellowship are kidnapped by a big company of orcs, which are, kind of like monsters or bad guys. And they're taking them off, running as fast as they can, trying to get to one of the head bad guys, not the big bad guy, but like one of his, sidekicks. So they're running with these little guys, and at one point, one of the 2 little guys that's been kidnapped decides, he's like, I've got to let the people that may follow us know that we're still alive. And so he knows he's going to get beat up for this or whatever, but he runs out from the pack of them and leaves some of his own tracks out in fresh grass. And then they all had gone through this elven land and gotten these pretty cloaks with these really nice jewelry brooches to hold them together, right? And he takes his beautiful little elven brooch and throws it on the ground. So there are 3 of the guys that are going after him, and they're hunting after him. They're going to try to rescue him. And they're following this big massive trail left by this company of bad guys. And one of them, he's a ranger. He's an outdoor guy, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute! Don't follow me." He runs off and he finds his tracks and the little pin, the little brooch. And one of his companions says, "Wow, that must have been, it must be really tough for him to let go of that." And the ranger character said something that has always stayed with me, and that was, "He who cannot cast away a treasure at need is in fetters." And if you're not into, English vocabulary words like J.R.R. Tolkien, fetters are chains, and it essentially means you're in slavery. He who cannot cast away a treasure at need is a slave, essentially. And it's kind of like the message that Jesus told that rich young fella when the guy said, how do I get into the kingdom of God? And Jesus said, well, you need to sell all your stuff, give the money to the poor, and follow me. Let go of those things that are weighing you down, those things that are holding you back. Let go of that treasure. So sometimes it's not our bad habits, not our bad relationships. It's our treasures that we need to learn to let go of. In that vein, in the vein of it's not necessarily something bad, I'm reminded of a story of that Myrtle Fillmore related in her Healing Letters, which is about all that we have left of her wisdom. At one point, she describes, and this is to give you a little background, if you're not aware of how Unity began as a healing movement more than anything else. And to the extent that we were kind of like an HMO. For about 2 decades, both Myrtle Fillmore and her husband Charles saw an average of about 20 patients per day and actually did a lot of healing work with them, mental healing. Of course, today we understand that mental healing, it does affect certain types of illnesses, doesn't do so good with the others. In particular, things that the immune system responds to. Those are the things that we can really do that have been scientifically proven to work with something that doctors and scientists like to call the placebo effect, but is really mental healing. Anyway, people would write to Unity, and that's how Silent Unity kind of got its start. They would write letters rather than calling on the phone or using the app. They didn't have apps back then. And people would write him about their problems, and then the people at Silent Unity, including Myrtle Fillmore, would write them back. So this fellow is corresponding with Myrtle, and he's telling her, so I've got this problem, and I've gone through all my usual things that are, that I have problems with, all the usual, devils in my consciousness, and I'm not coming up with anything. And she related a story that, I was having some stomach problems recently. And I did the same thing you just did. I went through all of my usual suspects and couldn't find anything. And she said, and then I turned my attention to the assets of my character. Those things that help me, or those parts of me that I'm proud of. And she said, and I discovered that I had taken my desire to do well at the things that I do. My desire for perfection in my being and my way of coming into the world, and it had become judgmental and perfectionist. And when I began doing treatments on that, my stomach problems disappeared. So we can take some of the good side of ourselves a little too far sometimes too. Then there are those parts of us that simply have difficulty letting go of not only the past, but that which never was. I remember being at Unity of Santa Barbara, and I was in a discussion group. Basically, it was kind of a workshopy group where we'd get together and kick stuff around and try to help each other out. And one woman who had just been really struggling for her whole adult life. I remember my former wife was kind of side coaching her a little bit. And finally this woman just came out she blurted out kind of angrily, "You don't understand. I was abused." About a 50-year-old. And the sad truth is, a lot of us in that room did understand. Because a lot of us have been in one way or another. But the question was, are you going to continue perpetrating that abuse by living it over and over and over again in your own mind? Or are you going to do the work that is necessary? And I mean, if necessary, finding somebody that specializes in therapy for PTSD and work to get past it. I was listening to a meditation recently on, I love that Insight meditation timer. And I'll paraphrase what the person leading the meditation was saying. But essentially what she was saying was, is justifiable anger and unforgiveness worth your one precious life? Our very own Reverend Ed Wein talks about forgiveness as being central to our prosperity, to our ability to live a good, healthy life. And really, what forgiveness is, excuse me, what forgiveness is simply us allowing the past to be the past, even if we didn't give our permission. Allowing the past to stay. And that's where another trap I want to talk about really gets involved. And that's the whole trap of what might have been. So in Birmingham, my wife had a bunch of friends. She's kind of an extrovert. But one of her friends was married to one of the higher ranking physicians at UAB. And he tells a story about his family. He and his couple, he had two brothers, and they all three ended up being extremely successful guys. They had a mom who was very driven. She was really tough as nails. Everything had to be just so. I won't cast any aspersions, but I think you can kind of imagine the sort of person who is not only driven for herself, but drives her children and eventually drove her husband away. Her husband divorced her and eventually remarried, had some other kids, moved out west, but he stayed in touch with his boys, made sure that they and their half siblings became friends, did all the right things, was doing his best to be a good guy. But this fellow, I'm going to call him Bob, that's not his name, but Bob's mom never let go of that marriage. For 40 years, she kept talking about if only she had said a certain person or said a certain thing to him, or if only she could say the right things to him now, he'd come back. And so as Laura and I were talking about that, she said, those two words are probably the biggest poison there is, if only. And I think about my own demons, my own devils, and I will freely admit that that's one that catches me quite a lot. As someone who lost a lot of years in substance abuse, I've said if only on more occasions than one, what I have come to not just recognize but really believe is that I need it. Because I did not find the God of my understanding until I found it through the process of working the steps. I never had that sure and certain knowledge of a power greater than myself that loved me and wanted me to prosper until I walked up that ladder of 12 steps. And as difficult as that is to swallow, as tough as it is sometimes for, I was one of those kids that if I didn't make 105 on the test that had a 5-point bonus question, I wasn't good enough. That's taken a while. That's taken a lot of work. But it's work that we have to do. And that whole idea of spending my time and my mental energy living in a past that didn't happen and imagining a future that cannot be because that past did not happen, it denies me the joy and the love and the power of now. We were talking this morning in Reverend Edwin's prayer circle about the power of imagination. Isn't it far better to imagine something that can happen than something that did? So today, what we're going to do is going to begin us in a meditation in a moment. And I'm going to invite you as we do this. Now, obviously, if you came in here with something you really want to burn, you do you, boo, right? If you're going to, wash that man right out of your hair or whatever it might be, right? You got something here. Yeah, okay, that too. Yeah, that happens too. If you're, whatever it might be. I mean, if you've got a really a burning desire to throw something or someone into the flaming bin outside there, by all means, put them on your paper. But I also invite you to maybe look into some places that you might not have thought to look before, and see if maybe there isn't something that you hadn't paid as much attention to that might be holding back your spiritual development. So the way we'll do this is we're going to spend a little time in meditation, and then I will ask you to write whatever it is you wish to release on your paper, and then Reverend Laura Lisa will go to the back door of the sanctuary and will ignite your paper in our little receptacle that's out there. Once you've done that, I'm going to ask you to come around the building and back in the front door. So we're sort of flowing in a circulatory manner rather than bumping into each other and keeping the back door open and letting smoke into the sanctuary. Amen.
Amen. Everybody find that piece of paper in your bulletin. And there are pins either under your chair or in the seat back pocket in front of you.
If your pen doesn't work, feel free to loot one from another chair. True story. When I had my church in Birmingham, we used to do it on New Year's Eve, and I would have somebody stand outside, and you actually build a fire in logs and whatnot, and people would come out at the end of service and put their stuff in the bin. Well, the year I went overseas on my last deployment, would have been New Year's Eve 2017, I guess. They decided they didn't want anybody to have to stand out in the cold, so they tried doing the burning bowl in the sanctuary.
We did that too once.
And I think there might still be a piece of the video on YouTube. You can see there's like a fog bank in the sanctuary where the smoke was just so thick they ran everybody out. So we're trying not to do that, right? So we don't want to have that back door open any more than we need to. So let's go ahead and just take a minute to relax. And once you've got all of your equipment with you there, get settled into your chair. And If you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes for a few minutes. Let's just take a nice deep breath and move into a time of meditation. Sweet Spirit, as we move into this time, we now release, we let go. As we take a few deep breaths and we become attuned to the life within us, your power and your grace, your spirit moving through us and as us. We feel our breath moving in and out of our body. Maybe in the stillness, we can even feel the beating of our heart, the blood moving in our veins. We come to an inner place of reflection. And you might visualize it as being before a mirror, or perhaps at the side of a pond, looking in the rearview mirror of the car you drive, seeing your eyes, looking for the truth. Sometimes we allow the mask that we wear for the rest of the world to confuse us. We take on an identity that is not truly us. And maybe it is a false identity we need to let go of. Maybe it's a habit that does not serve us. Perhaps it's a relationship. Whether that is with a family member, a job, some other organization. Or simply the way that we have chosen to believe about the world. Is there something behind those eyes that we see in that mirror that is no longer serving us, holding us back, keeping us from shining the light of the Christ that is at the very core of our being? Whatever that thing is, or those things may be, we affirm that now we see them clearly. Even if it hurts. Stay with it. Even if we are forced to let go of something that has comforted us, made us feel justified. We look into that place deep within. And we ask, can I let this go? And if we need help, we can say, Spirit, help me let this go. Whatever it may be. when we look past the mask, we know. If we are willing to become rigorously honest, we know. So now, for just a moment, we allow Spirit to speak within us and let us know that which is ours to release. We listen for a time in silence. Thanking Spirit for inspiration. We return our consciousness from that reflecting pool deep within, whatever it may be. And now, with all the bravery we can muster, we put pen to paper and we write down that which we will release today. If you've not already done so, I invite you to go ahead and write on the paper. Reverend Laura Lisa is going to lead us to the back. I just invite you to go as you are ready. So whenever you are ready, follow her out. She will help you release what you need to let go.
The old year's gone, in comes the new.
I think it's going to.
Get rid of things that hinder you. Those things are in the past now. You've survived them all. Throw away what holds you down. Start anew and lose that frown. Burn them up for God to discard. He can handle them all. When you trust in God, miracles can come true. And soon your spirit soars and helps you make it through. The old year's gone, in comes the new. Get rid of things that trouble you. Those things are in the past now. You've survived them all. Those things are in the past now, and you've survived them all.
One of the things about unity that can be a trap is that sometimes it encourages magical thinking. So, what I want to do is remind you that even though we've done this lovely ceremony, it doesn't magically make those things go away. As someone who has been doing work on myself for some time now, what I can tell you is that very often when I give something to God, I will suddenly find that I've taken it back. But what things like this help me do is remember, hey, I gave that up. So what I'm hoping that today will do is help you let go of whatever it is you chose to burn, and that in those moments when you start to take it back, you can do a pattern interrupt by saying, ooh, yeah, I burned that. And so you'll be able to stop the inner dialogue about whatever that thing was. When we do that long enough, and we do it consistently, then we can free ourselves from all those things that have us in fetters. I am really going to miss you. have a very happy and prosperous new year. God bless you.
Right. So now is the time in our service when we share of our abundance. We open ourselves up to the windows of heaven raining down upon us, and we no longer pass the basket. You are invited up to the plate here or at the back door. And those of you in our Zoom audience to donate online, please go to Unity Baton Rouge on our website, and that donate button also goes out every Wednesday on our email. If you're not getting our email, please email us at unitybatonrouge@gmail.com. Let us join together in our offering affirmation found in your bulletin. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give and receive. Thank you, God.
I'm ready for a miracle. Ready for a miracle. I'm ready for a miracle today. I've got my mind in tune for one, ready to experience one. I'm ready for a miracle today. My mind is open, ready to receive it. My heart is open, open all the way. I do accept a miracle, do accept a miracle. I do accept a miracle today. I do receive a miracle, do receive a miracle. I do receive a miracle today.
Thank you, Jude. And we bless these offerings. We see them going out to do a mighty work for good. And they are multiplied and returned. We bless the givers as we bless these gifts. And we join in knowing that they go forth to achieve our mission statement. Would you join me in our mission statement found in your bulletin? Unity of Baton Rouge is a diverse, growing, thriving, healing community of wisdom, love, support, and service. And I know that all our children are home, welcoming in this new year from their homes. And we say hi to the parents and the children that are at home, thanking you for being with us on Zoom. And thank you all for being here with us. We were wonderfully blessed by that burning bowl service. Thank you, Reverend Charles, once again. And thank you, Cindy Wonderful, in the sound booth. Do we have anybody that you know on Zoom? Okay. And Pat Cole, thank you. Hi, Cody. Hi, Penny and Rusty Ruffin. Oh, Sandra. Hey. Getting settled in her new digs, huh? Hi, Sandra. We bless you. We behold the Christ in all that are on our Zoom and Facebook Live audience. Thank you for being with us. Chronic healing will be offered. Reverend Charles mentioned the early days unity founded on healing. That mental healing is offered here by the chronic healers. And we thank you, chronic healers, for being here right after service. And there's potluck. You can grab some food and then come for chronic healing. The Zoom class on Jesus' teachings continues this Wednesday, January 4th at 6 p.m. And talk to me if you'd like any more information. The Zoom link that class goes out over is mailed out every Wednesday on our congregational email. And we are starting a new class based on Unity and A Course in Miracles. That book is available on Amazon by that same title, Unity and A Course in Miracles. And that class will begin on February 12th, and it'll continue on the second and fourth Sundays of the month at 10 a.m. That'll be facilitated by Amber Boudreau and myself. That takes us to the peace song and our prayer for protection.
And
Shall we stand?
keep Jerry Ford in your prayers. She woke up with laryngitis this morning. She was supposed to sing.
Join hands if you like for our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, we're a family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.